Okay. Anyway, did you know fetuses are employees now?
Before we continue, Rhino, there's something important that I need to show you. I need you to know that because of my audience, uh, you have been bred.
I like bread.
Well, good, because if you check Discord,
I thought I was joking.
you
Okay.
are bred.
Okay. Now I have to show that on stream. And now I have to go through the effort of putting it in my friggin' thing. Okay.
I'm sorry for ruining your day.
Well, let's get to this thing first. Add image. Where's image? There we are. Create new. Browse. I wish there was an easier way to do this. There probably is, and I just don't know it. But... Oop, nope. Back.
Hey, ears!
Smaller. Ooh. Let's keep it hidden for now until I get it to the right size. Then, bread.
You are bred.
Bread. I have been bred.
You have been.
Someone with a breeding fetish is going to clip that and use it for nefarious purposes.
There are people with breeding fetishes in my audience right now, and I know they're going to do that.
I mean, yeah, we've been over this before. I'm okay with that. They can do what they like. You can take anything that I say out of context and use it for whatever purposes you want. That's my official permission.
That's a lot of power to hand somebody.
That is a lot of power. They're gonna come back with like individual syllables of mine put together, so I'm saying the N-word. Those syllables were each out of context, and he gave me permission to use them all out of context. So,
fucking hell.
Okay. Anyway, did you know fetuses are employees now?
I did actually read a little bit of this one. Why? All it takes is a car crash, and suddenly a fetus is a person.
Yeah. So so this person was killed in an accident at work, and can we just talk about how crazy, like, this is just a throwaway line in some of the articles that cover this. Like, I read several of the articles, and most of them don't even mention it. The ones that do, it's just like one line. But apparently you can't sue an employer for accidental death if the person who died is an employee who was on the clock when they died. Like,
so the kid obviously was on the clock. You know,
yeah,
the kid who wasn't born yet.
Forget about the kid. Forget about fetuses for now. Just think of it from a workers' rights perspective. Like, if you die due to an accident at work, your employer cannot be liable for accidental death? What the fuck is that?
That's America.
Like, that seems like the reason that accidental death would exist as a category.
You would think that,
not an exemption from it.
But again, this is America. We need to make sure that the profit motive is the only thing
you want to
anybody
move to
cares
England?
about.
Want to move to England? I got £1 million for you. I have trillions of pounds. My God, that's gonna make a nasty thunk every time I do that, and I'm gonna do it on purpose.
I'm good. I don't want to go to Turf Island today.
Oh yeah, that's right. They're not really great either. I mean, they're better than the U.S. because at least they have universal health care. But I mean, the Brexit thing is kind of a slow burn, fucking them over.
And the NHS is a kind of sort of on healthcare, because what's been happening there is that the Tories have been trying, and to an extent Labour as well, actually, have been spending a lot of time gutting the NHS, and then using the gutting of the NHS to be an argument for why they don't need the NHS. Like, look at the failures of the NHS. It's not equipped to handle our issues. We need the private sector to intervene.
How about you equip them to handle the issues?
The private sector can do it.
No, it can't. Private sector fucked up. I forget whether I did this for a video or whether I was just arguing with someone on Twitter. Those two things kind of get merged in my mind sometimes. But I recently looked into the stats again, and it's like Americans always bring up Canadian wait times. I mean, like, oh, Canadians wait longer for healthcare on average than Americans. Like, okay, well, first off, like, number one point, if you factor in how long Americans wait while saving up money to pay for their healthcare, I'd be willing to bet that American wait times are longer. They just register from when you start to actively seek care to when you get care, not when you realize you have a problem but you don't have the money for it, so you need to save up the money. Like that doesn't get included in the wait times. I imagine if you get that, if you put that together, it'll at least be equivalent. But when you actually look more into it, it turns out that Canada's a bad comparison because of the socialized healthcare countries, ours kind of sucks. So you go somewhere like, say, I forgot whether it was Sweden or Switzerland. I'm sorry. I always get those two confused because they both start with S and end with land. No, they don't. Sweden does not end with land. What the fuck is wrong with me?
It's Swedenland.
Swedenland.
Yeah.
They both start with S, so similar enough for me. I'm sorry that I always get them mixed up. But like whichever one of those, it has completely socialized healthcare. And Scott Dillahunt says Sweeland. So it's they have completely socialized healthcare, and they have the lowest wait times of any developed nation. So it's like wait times aren't an argument. Just do it like Sweden or Switzerland, whichever one that is. And Scott followed up with Switzerland. Senshini German visitor. I remember you. I remember that name. Aloha Rhino Suris in chat. That's cultural appropriation. You shouldn't say aloha if you're German.
Hello, Senshini. How are you?
Okay.
It's better than when the Germans were appropriating nations.
Yeah. Okay, anyway, back to...
You had to consider that for a second. Was it really better?
No, I was considering whether or not to make a joke that is entirely inappropriate for me to make.
Oh, fair enough.
Okay, I don't know if I've officially announced this anywhere, but so ages ago, I had announced on Twitter that I've officially been invited to guest star on God Awful Movies.
Yeah.
It's now been like a year later, and they finally actually scheduled me in, so I'm finally going to be guest starring on there. And so I'm doing like a bit of research, so I'm like listening to their entire back catalog. And Eli is Jewish and will often make jokes of a nature regarding Jewish people that a non-Jew such as myself should not make and cannot get away with. And so like I had several of those like scoot through my head just now. I'm like, I can't say those.
Yeah, there's a...
Didn't Rhino mention this last week? Maybe I did. I don't remember.
You did mention it last week. You
Okay.
didn't mention the Jewish joke part last week, but
Yeah.
you did mention everything else.
Yeah, so whatever. I drank more than usual last week, so I'll just blame the alcohol.
Oh, fair
for
enough.
my forgetting.
Because last week you were like, I don't know if I'm supposed to do this or not, but whatever.
Yeah. Okay. So anyway, Anderson's family tried to sue the department on Anderson being the woman who died on her behalf, but workers' comp laws shield employees from wrongful death lawsuits when an employee dies on the job, which is stupid. So they refiled on behalf of the unborn child because in Missouri, it's actually been established precedent that this is something that you can do. Like you can sue for wrongful death of a fetus. And I think that's like since the 80s, that's been precedent. So that's the route they went. And to a point, I don't disagree with that because this is where the whole choice thing comes in. Like if you are choosing to have a baby and then someone does something that causes that baby to die,
yeah, you're taking that choice away from
you're taking the choice away. That you can call that wrongful death. But it's about choice in that case. Whereas Missouri responded by basically saying, well, a fetus is a person, right? Well, if a fetus was a person, they were showing up to work every day, so they must have been an employee. There is some like, this isn't like, I mean, I want to make jokes about, like, you know, suing for back pay so that they can get minimum wage for the fetus at least, and benefits and stuff like that.
But that's a legitimate route you could take at this point.
It is, but this is another one of those weird loophole things in Missouri law where dependents can somehow, through like this one weird trick or whatever, be considered employees without actually being employees. I don't know. I don't know exactly how it works. I'm not a law talking guy. I don't know, but there's a list of states that, like, pretty much every state in the union has some form of law that gives personhood to a fetus to some degree. Missouri is among at least 10 states where the personhood language is so broad that it could be interpreted to apply to all civil and criminal laws, which means you put a pregnant woman in jail, that fetus now has the grounds for a wrongful imprisonment suit.
Or you just do the right thing and, you know, put felony charges on the fetus.
Well,
I'm kidding. That's not the right thing to do.
No,
don't do
that. That could be the right thing. That could be the right thing, because if a woman is held hostage by having a fetus when she's not allowed to abort it, like, that could be cruel and unusual punishment. I'm suing my baby for cruel and unusual punishment because my baby is criminally liable for that, and under the law, the baby was holding me hostage and forced me to go through this painful and traumatic medical experience.
I mean, if you want to have the full personhood given to a fetus at every single stage, then sure, we're willing. I guess we'd just be willing to grant that, so that these absurdities can all play out in court. And when the people are finally done eating all of these absurdities on the chin, maybe they'll realize, oh, wow, this was a fucking stupid position.
Yeah, so here's the thing. In the Roe versus Wade decision, the Supreme Court explicitly stated that the word person does not include the unborn for the purposes of individual rights, such as equal protection under the law. So they that's where we get explicitly that fetuses are not people for these purposes. And so when the current Supreme Court overturned Roe versus Wade, they didn't clarify that. So now it's just up in the air.
Remember, Roe v. Wade is a precedent, but not a super precedent. That was
So the fetus was an accomplice. It was present for the mother's crime, and it didn't call the police. No, because the mother was holding it hostage, or the mother wasn't pregnant yet. Like, you can commit a crime and then get pregnant and then get caught for the crime.
There's so many absurdities.
Yeah.
There's assumption after assumption after assumption you have to keep lumping up
Progress
for any
only,
of this to make sense.
Progress only says, wait, the Supreme Court didn't hash out a case fully? Shocking.
Yeah, welcome to America.
Yeah.
This is why we've got the fucking adage, you know what? It's close enough for government work.
Yeah. So this is boundary pushing. So this type of boundary pushing, Sussman said, is invited by inconsistencies in the law like those created by the U.S. Supreme Court Dobbs decision last summer, which overturned Roe versus Wade without addressing the question of when personhood rights begin, which I guess I did just say that. I read this in advance. Can you tell? Actually, these neat little highlighting things, that's like the quote segments.
Mm-hmm.
That's an add-on. I made it happen.
I've actually been meaning to ask what that add-on is.
Yeah, it's called Super Simple Highlighter. And that's all it is. It's a super simple highlighter.
Ah, fair enough.
I'm all about the ridiculous productivity tools that save you like 2 seconds. Like,
so that you can just have that going forward.
You know what? ChatGPT, the main thing I use ChatGPT for is writing auto hotkey scripts to automate just repetitive tasks. So like,
so you have a semi-automated tool to create other semi-automated tools.
Mm-hmm. I do.
Yeah, we do content creation on very different levels. I hit the record button and then I pray for the best.
Sorry, I've got my dog is sleeping in a very weird position, so I had to take a picture.
Fair.
And maybe if I feel like adding another picture to the thing, I'll share it with the stream at some point.
Maybe.
Yeah, no. I have ChatGPT write auto hotkey scripts for me. So like I do stuff like my source list that I put at the end of or in the description of all my videos.
Yeah.
It's this easy but time consuming task of like copying the link, pasting the link in my document, copying the title, pasting the title in my document. Now I just press the G3 key on my Logitech keyboard and it does all that for me. I have an issue where like I work off of a network drive, and I have this bad habit of leaving a bunch of Explorer windows open and putting my computer to sleep. And then when I turn the computer back on, I will sometimes have like 10 or 12 windows open, and every single one that was connected to the network drive, it'll be like, oh, we lost the connection. I don't know what to do. Ah! And you can't close them all at once. You have to go through one by one and like hit the OK button in that little error message and then close the folder. So I had it write a script that now I can press a button on my Steam Deck and it'll close all of my Explorer windows before putting the computer to sleep. And
fair enough.
Just like little things like that.
Little things that otherwise are really frustrating.
Well, there's like folders that I use commonly. If I click the middle mouse button now, a little right-click menu opens up that just has some of the folders that I use frequently. You know, click on that and it'll open the folder for me, so I don't have to actually navigate to it. It's right there.
Can they charge fetuses rent?
What?
Can we charge fetuses rent?
Oh, good question.
But they're people.
I mean, so this is a potential loophole for the abortion thing. Fetuses are people. Stand your ground laws are a thing. Fetuses are not wanted in your home. They're a home invader.
That's been my pro-gun argument for, like, I've used that argument on my channel a bunch in terms of just going like, hey, if you like guns, here's stand your ground. But for people, I've had Christian fundies in my comment section get really angry with me for that type of rhetoric, and I'm just like, I don't care. One, it's not the worst shit I've said. Two, it's entirely internally consistent. You can sit there and try to poke holes in it all you want, but your only argument's going to be, but that's different.
Oh, so remember back in June, right after Dobbs happened, the woman in Texas who got the ticket for driving in the HOV lane without a passenger?
Mm-hmm.
And her argument was, I'm pregnant, the fetus is a person, therefore I have a passenger?
Yeah.
Yeah, so she got out of that ticket, and then she got another ticket, and then she got out of that ticket too. So the precedent has been set. If you're pregnant, you can drive in the HOV lane alone. In states that consider fetuses to be people.
Well, now I just have to get pregnant, and then I can, wait.
To be fair, that's not a very high court type precedent. That's just like some traffic court judge who doesn't want to deal with this shit being like, okay, fine, whatever. I don't care. It's $50 for the fine. Who cares? Go away.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like real precedent, but still.
Yeah, but it's enough. It's enough.
Yeah. So, but then there's other things like, the fetal personhood laws. Like, we've been going ridiculous in the case of, like, you know, employment or rent or stand your ground laws or stuff like that. But then, like, there's also stuff like, if a woman has a glass of alcohol while pregnant, she can now be charged for, like, endangering a minor or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, there was a brief that was filed in Arizona that pointed out that before the Supreme Court allowed Missouri's personhood language to stand... Sorry. Yeah, let me actually read the thing. Citing Missouri as a cautionary tale, the brief asserts that not a single woman was arrested in the state in relation to her pregnancy before the Supreme Court allowed Missouri's personhood language to stand. The years that followed brought at least 39 arrests of women for being pregnant and subjecting unborn children to perceived risks of harm, including drinking alcohol, smoking marijuana, or drinking tea made with mint and marijuana leaves to treat morning sickness. Now, I'm not saying you should drink and smoke marijuana and eat marijuana leaves if you're pregnant. That's probably bad for the baby. You should, however, not be arrested for that.
Yeah,
Like my sister, her first pregnancy, she didn't know she was pregnant, and she went to an amusement park and went on all the rides that said don't ride this ride if you're pregnant. Should she have been arrested for that? She was endangering her baby.
I would think that it's a little ridiculous to arrest for that, regardless. Like, I'm sorry, I just, in the event that the person goes, "Hey, this is my child that I am trying to raise, and I'm going to do everything in my efforts to protect it," then that's why we have those rules for when other people endanger the child. But for you yourself doing it, I'm,
Yeah,
I am torn on how
John's
far
got
we're allowed to go that.
John's got a good point here. He says so they arrested the criminal and the victim and put them in the same cell. I guess.
That's what you would have to do. Like that's the reason that it strikes me as hard to contend with those kind of rules and laws, because they do lead to things like, hey, the woman's in the jail cell, technically the fetus is in the jail cell as well. Oh, by the way, also, let's say that we have like severe fines that are located on that are put on here, and then you give birth to your child a few months later, but you're still paying off those fines. You are negatively affecting the livelihood of that child now, and you're doing it for potentially multiple years to come, depending on how big the fines are. Are you okay with doing that? Like, are you okay with impacting their life financially now? It's a fustercluck, is what it is.
Anyway, yeah, I think we're pretty much done with this one, but we've been going for a while. We need to move on.